On the state transport bus to Sekondi-Takoradi, Dawson squeezed in between the window and a large woman with no boundaries. Christine and the boys had seen him off at the house, and Hosea had been close to tears, which brought a lump to Dawson's throat. Christine was right. Brave as their son was, he needed his father to be with him right now. Emotionally and physically, he was still fragile. Gazing out of his window, Dawson tried to stop his brooding as the bus sped along the George H. Bush Highway. He turned his thoughts to his destination, the twin city of Sekondi-Takoradi. It was the capital of the Western Region, WR. Sekondi was the administrative section, while Takoradi was more commercial. Dawson's father, Jacob, had grown up in Takoradi and moved to Accra as a young man. In Accra, he met Dawson's mother, Beatrice, an Ewe woman. Although Jacob seldom if ever visited Takoradi these days, he still had family there, including a nephew called Abraham, or Abe. Dawson had called his cousin to ask if he could possibly stay with him while in town. The Ghana Police Service, GPS, was so unlikely to pay for accommodation or transportation costs that submitting receipts for expenses was a waste of time. Abraham, who lived above his stationery store in downtown Takoradi, had told him that with his 2 teenage children at home, there was no space. But he had a better idea. He was remodeling a small family bungalow a mere 10 minutes away. Hoping to profit from the boom in the hospitality industry spurred by the discovery of oil, he planned to rent the bungalow once he completed it. If Dawson didn't mind the state of incompletion of the place, Abraham had said he was welcome to bunk there. It was an offer Dawson would have been a fool to refuse. When he had visited Takoradi as a teen, Abraham had been in his early 20s. It had been a long time since the two had seen each other, but that didn't matter. Family was family, and Abraham was more than happy to help. On the open road, the bus passed Waji Lake on the right. It was the beginning of November, and although heavy rainfall was over for the year, the landscape was still verdant and rich. Deep green foliage covered the hills and hugged the roadsides. Soon, the dry season would arrive with its persistent harmattan haze, fine particles of dust blown down from the Sahara from November to March. Immediately after they'd passed Cape Coast University in the central region, the beach made its appearance on their left. The blue-green of the sea looked like a painting, with the foamy white of the waves breaking at the shore, and the coconut palm fronds atop spindly trunks that grew off vertical. It all looked freer and wilder than Accra's beaches. Dawson shuddered at the thought of swimming in the sea. He had not spent much time at the beach as a child, and he could barely swim. On the few occasions he'd ventured into the surf at Labadi Beach, he'd been frightened by the strong undertow. After passing through the town of Sapphire, they went through a checkpoint and entered the western region. An hour later, they were on the final approach to Takoradi. Flame trees lined the roadside into town, reaching to form a leafy arch that would turn scarlet when the flowers bloomed. It was around 5:30, and the sun had become oblique and softer. They came to a roundabout called Paw Grant, the greenest and most luxuriant circle Dawson had ever seen. Dawson dialed Abraham's number. It went through, and a man answered. "Abraham?" Dawson said. "Darko. Are you around?" "Yes, we're coming into the city now." "Oh, wonderful." Abraham's voice was smooth but dense, setting off a reaction in Dawson. Voices triggered his sense of touch. He could feel it in his hand or fingers, mostly on the left side. But as Dr. Biney had explained to him, what was happening was entirely inside his brain. Synesthesia was the name of a phenomenon in which the stimulation of one of the senses leads to an automatic experience in another sense. Dawson, a synesthete, had vocal sound-to-touch synesthesia. He could never predict what might set it off. A voice as rough as sandpaper or as sweet as a musical instrument. Sometimes it acted as a lie detector when a change in vocal tone set off his synesthesia.